Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'm going to show you how to automate your entire proposal process, from creating a proposal that looks super professional to a Stripe payment link included in that proposal and sending it directly to your customer. That way you look good, you get paid fast, and you get started fast. I personally use this automation for my business personally, and it saves me a ton of time every single week, at least 2 or 3 hours. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to build the whole process from creating the intake form to sending it over to N8N, processing the information, creating the Stripe payment link, before finally sending it over to your client through email. So that by the end of this video, you'll have a full system that generates proposals with scope of work, pricing, and a payment link just by filling up a quick form, which will save you dozens of hours every single month. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. This is the agenda for today's video. First, again, we're going to create the intake form with fields like the problem they're facing, the solution you're offering, we're proposing, the price, and how long it's going to take you. Then we're going to send that over to N8N, process the info, and send them an email. So let's go straight into it. I am using GHL for my form builder, but honestly, you can use whatever you want. I'm going to show you the fundamentals, and you'll be able to build it with your own tech stack. So this is what it looks like for me. I have this form where I ask them for their name, their business name, their problem they're facing, the outcome that I'm proposing, the deliverables, the price, the start date and deadline, any additional details. And then these are optional, but I like to have them because I do projects in both English and Spanish. But if you're using GHL, it's pretty straightforward. You just need to create a custom field and add these in, because they don't come straight out of the box. But it's pretty much the same for whichever form builder you're using. And after that, we want to send that to N8N. In GHL, we create an automation that is triggered by filling up that form specifically, and then we send a webhook over to N8N. So this is what it looks like. Essentially, we have a form submitted trigger. So I chose that form specifically, and then we have a webhook that basically connects our form to N8N. So just like that, we finished step 1 and step 2. Well, step 2 is kind of in the works right now. Let's go over to N8N, and here we want to create a webhook trigger node. So just go to the top right in the trigger section, just select webhook. And then here, make sure that it's post, because whenever you're sending over information through a webhook, it needs to be the same HTTP method, or it's not going to work. And then just grab this URL and put it in the automation that's sending it over to N8N. So that's how we set up the trigger. Okay, so now step 2 is done. Okay, so that concludes step 2. Now let's get OpenAI to process the info, which is step 3. So this is prompted a little bit differently than normal, because it's kind of a prompt sandwich. First, we have the system message, then the user instructions, then an input-output example, and then real input. So this is what it looks like. I got this prompt from Nick Sarab, so shout out to him. So the first prompt is used to make the system identify its role. Here we're just telling it that it's a helpful, intelligent writer assistant, and then the role is serving the system. So next we add a user role, and then we give it this prompt. So you can copy this, and this prompt serves as instructions on what we want the node to return. So what should it do? We basically tell it that we give it some context about what we're doing, and then we tell it to use this format. And I also added some comments at the end of each key value pair, saying write at least 53 characters to 76 characters max, because I just tested out my template, which we'll go into in a bit, and that's what looks best. So essentially, here we're creating all the variables that we're going to be inserting later on into Google Slides, and then just some additional rules. You can copy this as well. The fifth one is optional, because unless you do proposals in multiple languages, but that's going to be up to you. And then the next, we add another user role prompt, and here we give it a example of an input. So basically all of these inputs that are sent over to the webhook, we connect them here just as an example. And then we add an output example. So it's really important for you to create one of these proposals manually if you haven't done so, because that's going to yield us the best result. If it doesn't know what to output for real, then it's not going to give you something that you like. So I manually, wrote these. Don't try to get the system to automate your first proposal, because it's probably not going to give you the results that you're looking for. So just keep that in mind. Here, essentially, it's the same JSON that we gave it, but with actual values of what we wanted to return. So this is like the blank template, and then this is real values that we wanted to return. And before finally giving it our last user prompt with real information that we received from the webhook. Of course, right now we don't have anything because we haven't executed it. I'm going to show you in just a sec. So again, that might be a little bit confusing, but just think about it like this. First, a system prompt with the role of the node, then user instructions, and we tell it what we want it to do. So basically return this in this format and any other additional rules that you want to include before including an input and an output example before finally giving it a real input. So that's it for the OpenAI node. That concludes step 3. Now we're going to create the Stripe payment link. So as you saw from the form, we ask ourselves how much we're going to charge for this project, which you'll obviously determine by yourself. You don't want a AI determining that. Okay, cool. So let's jump into creating the Stripe payment link. So we have these 3 nodes responsible for creating the payment link. The first one, we set up fields before calling the first API endpoint that creates a Stripe product and gives it a price, I believe, and then we create a payment link for that before copying and filling in the template, proposal template, and then sending the email. So first of all, you have to set up some fields. So you can just go top right and then go to data transformation and then set fields. And then this is what it looks like. I'm just gonna go into the real scenario. So here we have, first of all, a currency, and then we map it to US dollars or whatever you want to use. Just use the acronym for it, and then price, which we're going to be referring to in the following 2 nodes. And just be aware that Stripe uses cents, so you need to multiply every dollar by 100. Just be aware of that when you're filling up the form. You're not using cents or tens of thousands of dollars, because it's not going to multiply it correctly. Well, since tens of thousands of dollars it will, because we basically multiply every dollar that we input into the form by 100, which makes it 100 cents, which makes it $1. So that's how it works. Then we go to the first API endpoint, which is this. It's a post method, authentication, credential type, Stripe API. And then for the body, this is what I send it. To be honest, this didn't take that much time. I just took the curl from their documentation and pasted it with my API key. So for the name, the only body parameters that you need to send are the name of the product, then the price, and the name of the currency. So this is how I fill them up. These are the names of those parameters, and I essentially map the name of the product to the value generated by OpenAI node, and then the price from the webhook, and then the currency from the fields node that we just created. And then when you're creating the Stripe API credential, it'll ask you for your API key, which you can get from your Stripe developer's dashboard. And after that's done, we create the payment link. So this is the endpoint. Again, same credential type. And let me show you the body parameter. So all of this is pretty much the same, just different endpoint, of course. Same API key. The body we're sending is just the price this time and the quantity. So the price we get from the webhook, and the quantity is just 1 in my case. So just be aware of what we're sending. Cool. So that's pretty much it for step number 4. Now let's create the Google Slides proposal template and replace those values. Cool. So go over to Google Slides and you can create a presentation from scratch. This is the best way to create this automation. You want to create a proposal by yourself manually, and that will make the whole process a lot easier, because this is a proposal that I made for a client manually. And after you have a proposal that you like, then you make a copy of it, and then you create a variable for each one. So for example, this is title, slide 1. This is business name, slide 1. This is title, slide 2, and so on. So that's exactly what I did in the template. As you can see, it's just all variables at this point. So now we go back to N8N and we create a Google Drive copy file node. Let me just open this up. And essentially, you want to connect your Google Drive account, which if you haven't done so, that's like a whole topic by itself. You need to create a Google Cloud account and then enable their API and then connect your account. I'm sure you can find videos of that online if you haven't done so, but just be aware that it's not super straightforward. And then here you want to select a file by SID, which is this long string after the D. You can just copy this and then paste it in here. And then you want to give the file a name. So in this case, I'm just using the proposal title, then my agency's name, and that will essentially copy the template. And now we're going to create a replace text Google slide node, which essentially, let me just give you the rundown of how this works. We select the presentation ID from the last node because it's a new one that we just created. And then we look for a specific value and we replace it with the value that was created by AI. So essentially, we go to our proposal template, we grab, let's go to the first slide, the proposal title, we copy this, we put it in the search for box, and then we put the value created by OpenAI we want to replace it with. So when you're mapping these, make sure that the presentation ID is the one that was created in the previous node, and then you map the fields correctly. So let's save this and test it, because this is a real proposal I'm making and it's gonna be pretty cool. So let's see how it works. I put dummy names and business name, even though it's a real proposal, because I just don't want my clients to get doxxed. So just be aware of that. What did I do here? Actually, I'm gonna show you this error. Essentially, the price it didn't go through because I put a $sign and you can't multiply a $sign. So I have to resubmit it. I kind of forgot about that. It's pretty early. So I'm just gonna go ahead and type these in again. Cool. So I just filled these up again, and this time I didn't put a $sign. So now we should be good to go. Now let's test it, and let me submit the form again. As you can see, it worked properly this time. Now it's copying the file and replacing the values with the ones created by OpenAI. So let me open Google Slides and see what we got. I didn't map this correctly because I put my business name, so I probably just got confused. But as you can see, it's pretty cool and it works really well because I essentially give it a template that I know works well. This could be a little bit better. I think I just forgot to remap this when I was rebuilding this recently. But yeah, there are some improvements we made. That's why I deactivated this if statement because I'm not sending emails yet. That's why I don't even ask for emails in the form. But it's something that you could do pretty easily once you get to a level where you're comfortable with this output. Essentially, you go back to NA10 and in this case, I use an if statement because I have projects that are in English and Spanish. So basically, I check if in the form I put Spanish or English, and then based on that criteria, here I route them different ways. So in this case, I didn't put anything, so I put Spanish. So I should probably make this field required. That's why testing and iterating is so important. And then I just send them an email with the link to the presentation we just made. To create this email node, you basically just search up email and you connect your email address with your IMAP or SMTP, and you put in your credentials essentially in the port. So it's pretty straightforward, but I just want to show you the fundamentals of how this works so that you can customize it and do whatever you want with it. So just like that, we replace the values in a Google Slides proposal template. And for the payment link, I kind of forgot that we need to map the output of this node to the presentation. So if we go down to the back to the template, you'll see that the variable for the payment link is called curly bracket payment link curly bracket. So at the bottom, that's one of the last ones. Here, essentially, we map this from the Stripe node, not from the OpenAI node. So essentially, you just need to map these accurately so that you get the output that you're looking for. And yeah, from here, you can do whatever you want. You can send it back to your CRM before adding them to another workflow that follows up with them automatically. You can send it to them automatically. I'm still working on this because I'm iterating and making it like 100% perfect. So that's why I don't have these automatic yet. That's why I don't ask for the email, because I've been sending them manually. I just want you to be aware of how this works. So that's it for this video. I'm so bad at doing outros, but if you learn something, I drop practical automations that you can implement into your business every single week. So please consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.